Hello and welcome. My name is Mark Lutterodt and I'm doing a series on AI in procurement. And I want to spend some time today looking at AI agents or agentic AI because I think they're going to be really important. So what is an agent? Agents are systems that independently accomplish tasks on your behalf. So we've spent time probably playing around with large language models. They're great because we can communicate with the model. It understands what we're saying, and then it can communicate back to us in a human-like way. Agents use large language models, amongst other things, but they not only understand what we're doing, they can start to drive action. They can do this by themselves, so it could be like a single agent, or an agent can co-opt other agents to help it along its way and get the outcome that it wants. So those are just some examples there. The agents have three core components. You've got the model, tools, and instructions. The model, again, we've kind of talked a little bit about large language models, or there could be other types of models as well that are used. For some tasks, an agent might require a deep research model that's really good for that. But in other situations, a kind of simple reasoning model like O3 Mini might be better off to make quick decisions. So again, you could have multiple models in one agent, just as an example. The next one are tools, and there are three types. You've got the data, action, and orchestration. The data is basically databases, files, APIs that the agent can access. So if we take an example, you could have a supplier which you pass to an agent. The agent's speciality is that it checks suppliers if they're on a sanctions list, OFAC, and will send you back a response to tell you, yep, this supplier's good, or you've got a bit of an issue. Orchestration and action could be linked. So orchestration is the kind of workflow that gets created as a result of your prompt. So it could be co-opting lots of agents, or there could be processes in there that are built into the agent. And one of the steps in the workflow could be an action. And say in the instance of this supplier that's been flagged on the sanctions list, you may decide, actually, we need to create a meeting. So I need to create a calendar entry. I'm going to invite my supplier manager, the risk manager, and probably even the supplier, so we can have a risk mitigation discussion around the next steps. So those are some of the examples of tools there. Instructions are really about creating a code of conduct, creating guardrails or a policy for how the AI agent is going to operate. And really, it's there to help the decision-making process when you have kind of vague requirements. So this is what AIs are good at. And so this really helps them make the right decision. Now, I talked a little bit about orchestration and workflow. Obviously, the agents can work by themselves, as I've described, or they could be a multi-agent architecture there. So if we just look at a single example, let's just say I want an agent that scans an invoice, a PDF invoice. So I'm going to send it the invoice. It's going to scan the invoice, pull out the PO number, the supplier name, the header details, the different line items, the tax, and so on, and send it back to you in a usable format, which you can then use, or you can send it to another system. So at this point, I hear you say, well, hold on here, Mark. Usually e-invoice systems do a lot more than that. Where's my two-way, three-way, four-way, five, or whatever way matching? Where's my compliance check? One of the products here was ordered from the head office in country A. The supplier's in country B. It was sent to one of our offices in country C. One of those countries is outside the EU. What are the tax implications? So when you start to have all these multiple steps and stages, we're starting to get into the multi-agent systems world here. And you could potentially have different agents doing all those different types of tasks. Now, if you're technical, I'd probably advise you just to block your ears for maybe 10 seconds. How do these agents connect and talk to each other. There are a number of standards that have been put out there. These are the Model Context Protocol and the A2A, Agent to Agent Protocol. And in effect, all they really do is just they explain what each agent does. So when you send an agent a request, it knows that, oh, that agent over there knows how to scan an invoice, and so off it goes and starts to interact with that agent. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. So at this stage, I can collectively feel you guys putting your hands through the screen and shaking me by the lapels and saying, but Mark, this is fabulous, but why the hell would I want to use technology for technology's sake? I have a fabulous SaaS invoice solution. It's frictionless. 99.9% of the invoices fly through my system and they're touchless. Why would I want to use an AI platform? And the answer is, yeah, you're right. You don't need to use an AI platform if it's so good. Definitely not. But where it would make sense is if perhaps you're a shared service center. Maybe a large number of the invoices are coming through and there are lots of exceptions. And there needs to be some additional intelligence you want to build into the workflow. Perhaps there's some complex decision making that needs to happen. There's lots of unstructured data, lots of policy documents. Maybe they're changing. Maybe you've got difficult rule maintenance. Maybe there's new legislation coming out which you need to abide by. Maybe that needs to feature in the workflow somehow. So these are some examples of where we need to sort of where it would start to make sense to use an AI agent. Now there are lots of different types. Most of us are kind of very familiar with co-pilots. We've used AI to create documents, to do research for us. There's people who are writing code using Cursor and Lovable, to just type prompts and have these SaaS platforms created on the fly. So those are quite well known. Workflow automation, we've talked a little bit about workflow, so that's already reasonably well understood. So you can use agents for that as well. Probably the next one is around AI virtual workers and Gen AI agents. This is where perhaps some of the job functions are being partially replaced or supported by AI. So in this example, so let's just say you've got a sourcing event and you want to create a supplier help desk. You could have a voice AI agent that's there, which you can talk to. It could answer questions about the RFP, answer about the dates, all the things that you could probably just read in the document, but there could be more details. You can interrogate it about some technical elements of the RFP and so on. Or if you really want to be fancy, you could probably have the supplier have its own AI, talk to that AI and automatically complete the bid for you. So those could be some examples there. The next one is really where things start to get a little bit wild. And this is an AI native enterprise. This is where AI is at the core of the enterprise and it's built in that way. And I guess this is really where we start to, in my opinion, this is where we start to look at merging the organizational structure, perhaps with the technical architecture. So this came up in a McKinsey white paper, and their take was that they kind of see the deployment of AI in a number of ways. They see existing systems that are out there. So you might have your existing ERP or something, and that you might put an AI wrapper around it so that you can then use AI that way. Your third-party data provider, your SaaS solution may provide you with some functionality as well. But then the last one was really where you put AI at the core and transform the way the business operates. And this is kind of the word transformation. I can see consultants there rubbing their hands and licking their lips, talking, procurement transformation. What should we call it? Procurement transformation 2.0, or maybe 3.0. But seriously, it's probably going to have ramifications, not just for procurement, but across the board. I mean, across multiple different departments. Once the technology is mature enough and people look at the way things operate, and the technology can be trusted, which we're going to look at a bit later on. So what could be some of the challenges? Now, I'm just going to look at the top two, probably more. I mentioned, can the technology be trusted? I mean, I've spent time, generating AI images, and I've gone, wow, this is absolutely great. And then looked a little bit more closely and said, oh, that hand has got 7 fingers on it. So, there are times when you kind of amazed by it, and then you kind of, hold on a minute, what's going on? Or it could be you're in a situation where you've kind of generated this amazing document, but then you think, oh God, it's put some metrics in there. Where did it get those metrics from? Is it some kind of AI hallucination? So these are the types of issues where, there's going to have to be some building of trust. And the way I see it, it's going to be in the same way as you'd manage a system or an employee. You'd have to put a protocol in place and monitor it over time just to make sure it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. Because I can imagine initially, you've got an AI doing all the things it's supposed to be doing, and then, a few months down the line, it just goes off the rails and starts going berserk. So you obviously need to manage, all the different elements there. Data protection one is an interesting one because it could be looking at, we've seen queries around privacy and data privacy and people exposing things about their company through the prompts. Or it could be that, for example, you're a category manager and you're very proud of yourself because you've created a wonderful strategy document and presentation to go with it. And up comes along someone from IT and starts talking to you about data provenance. Now, whilst you're scratching your head trying to work out what that is, you're probably also thinking, well, yeah, where did all this data come from? Is it real? Is it something that I really want to hang my hat on? And so this is really where, this starts to get interesting. And, if you're in the UK government and you're in procurement, you're probably going to start to wonder, well, is this data coming from UK? Is this agent that's operating, where's it based? Is it based in Vladivostok? So again, some additional things where probably there's governance and policy that needs to be thought about to make sure that these things get deployed in the proper way. And of course, you've obviously got your normal change management, technical architecture, deployment strategies. These are all kind of the usual suspects. Obviously, there are going to be nuances there, but I've just put those in there just to kind of give a full picture. So anyway, hopefully that's been useful. We've had a little look at what are agents, how they're deployed, the various different types, and some considerations for working with agents. If you have any comments, please feel free to drop them in the comments section below. And other than that, all I can say is thank you for watching.